Alright, so to start off, runners are playing on English, so we will have around 3 minutes longer of text as compared to the Japanese version, which is unfortunate, but it's just what, for whatever reason, Scotty has always run on it, so they're just sticking with it. So our first big execution part of the run is coming up in this next room. It's called the climb. Looks like Scotty gets it, and so does Xoneris had it, and then had a little bit of a late wall jump on that last one. So that room is pretty tough to execute when you're just starting out, but it gets a little easier once you have more knowledge of the game. And so they'll be heading off to the quarantine bay where some explosion happened, and they'll have to kill one singular enemy that just so happens to be the hardest enemy in the game to kill. Scotty gets that first try. So does Xoneris. Woo! Off to a good start. So now we'll be heading off to get some missiles, which is gonna help a lot to start out here. But as we can see, we already have Scotty pulling away quite a decent amount. Got probably another 10 seconds between them already. Movement is very key in this run, but RNG is also a decently large factor if you're going for a very good time. But that shouldn't determine the race this time around. So what you just saw on Scotty's screen, I didn't point it out earlier, but he's shooting whenever he reaches, like, about the top of the platform. It's just so that he can break out a spin and land on the platform and start moving a little bit earlier. And it saves a couple of frames every time you do it, but over the course of the run, that can add up to a lot of time saved. So now we'll be heading out to defeat our first boss and also encounter our first bit of RNG in the eye doors. So eye doors in this game are pretty much RNG. So you have to shoot an eye door 3 times with 3 missiles, but every time you shoot it, it'll close. And before you can actually shoot it, it'll shoot beams. And it can shoot anywhere from 0 to 4 beams, and that can lose quite a bit of time. You can get either 0 beams, which is really good RNG, or you can get 12 beams, which is really bad RNG. And so beams can lose you a lot of time if you're going for a PB. And Scotty gets the first double there, which is very hard. I believe it's frame perfect on Idors. He still gets 3 beams, which is not great for getting a double, but it's not bad. And so, actually, this first boss, Arachnis, is a little bit harder than 100%, because you actually go into the fight with 1 less missile than you do at 90%, which can matter a lot. Pretty sure Xoneris is gonna get 4 or 5 beams. But this boss takes 15 missiles to kill, and it's RNG whether or not he rolls. If he rolls, normally in a good fight you'll get 0 rolls, but he can roll 1 or 2 times. And if he rolls, then you're most likely gonna lose like 2 missiles. Just from you're supposed to keep on shooting at him, and then, 2 missiles will tank. And that can make the Core X fight really difficult, because you need 3 missiles to kill it. And since you come into the fight with 19 missiles, and the actual boss takes 15, you're left with 4 missiles if you get no rolls. That can be a little tough if you do get a roll, because then you'll have to shoot it for a green X. And what you just saw Xoneris do was get a double. Double missiling cores and Idors in this game is really important to getting a good time. It can save you a lot of time later on, because some of the cores will take upwards of 6 missiles to kill. And, killing it in the technically like 3 missile cycles is going to save a lot of time over having to do 6. However, they get a little bit trickier later on in the game, as the more missile upgrades you get, the longer the cooldown between shots is, and also the faster the missile flies. So now, we have a little bit of trouble taking place in the breeding sectors. So they'll have to go down and sort that out. But as we're going down, the SAX, spoilers, will come out and basically turn off the elevator, which makes it so now we're stuck down here for a while. So now the main objective of Sector 1 is we have to clear out 5 atmospheric reactors, something like that. And they take 3 missiles each. So missile management in Sector 1 is actually quite tight, even with the extra missile pack that they pick up at 100% here. Or before. Yeah, normally you come in with 20 missiles in the 90% route, but in 100% you come in with 25. Which makes this a lot easier, but it's still not free to get through without running out of missiles. So Scotty actually getting very good RNG to start out, so he already has 20 missiles. He had a little mishap there. I don't know where he was trying to go, but yeah. 20 missiles is a very good number to have after that E-tank. And so another good thing in this sector is to have full health. If you have full health throughout the entire sector, or at least very close to it, you have a very high chance of getting missile drops, which are green X's, and those will add 2 extra missiles to your count, which is extremely useful. And I think you need 2 or 3 to get through the sector cleanly. So Scotty having very good RNG, and he's gonna finish up with 9 missiles, or more, going into the Core X. Or the Idor. 17 missiles, that's ridiculous. Xoneris has quite a low missile count and is actually not close to full health, so he'll have to struggle a little bit more to get through. And so coming up is the final Idor that'll take 3 hits, because after this we'll get the Charge Beam, which will allow us to kill Idors in 1 hit. Also, Scotty getting a nice double with the Zero Beam. So doubles on I cores for beams are a little bit harder, I would say, than normal cores. You have to jump and then basically downward. You shoot down 2 missiles and they have to hit at the same time. Which is a little bit tighter than just having to shoot 2 missiles up and having the core exponent do it. So now we have the charge beam, which is ridiculously broken in this game. For zero mission, it's mostly just used for pseudo screw. In this game, pseudo screwing is still a little bit. You use it a little bit, a lot more in 100% than you do in 80%. But the charge beam actually has 3 parts in this game. It'll have 2 shots, and then it'll have a flare that'll come out of the arm cannon. Each shot does 10 damage, and the flare does an extra 6. So if you hit all 3 parts of the charge beam shot, you will end up doing 26 damage, compared to a normal missile, which I believe does 10. So it makes killing these atmosphere things a little bit faster. You can kill them in 1 shot rather than in 3, if you time it right. And it'll also destroy some bosses later in the game. So now, after we've cleared out all 5, we need to head back to the computer, see what our next objective is. And a lot of this game is just talking to the computer. Fortunately, the leaderboards go by in-game time, mostly, so time spent talking to the computer in door transitions, on elevators, don't count towards your in-game time. It's all just movement and how good your actual RNG is. So yeah, the only difference between English and Japanese, well, there's 3 really. Japanese saves 3 minutes in text. Japanese saves 3 minutes in text. So none of that will count towards in-game time. And actually, Japanese loses a half a second over English in in-game time. Which we'll see later, and I'll point it out. But the other difference is that English actually has a version-exclusive glitch that makes 0% actually viable. It's a frame-perfect out-of-bounds you can do using reforming blocks. And I don't know why, but it doesn't work on Japanese. And using that, we can skip a missile pack that otherwise we would have to do 5 shine sparks that have 7 frames of error. So, I think only 5 or 6 people have ever pulled it off RTA. So now the computer has told Scotty that he has to go throughout Sector 2 and find the bombs upgrade. But first, that's blocked off by a security door. So we have to go find it. And since it's security, we have to go find it ourselves. But it's pretty easy to figure out where it is. So now that the blue hatches on doors are open, we can go find bombs, which is pretty close by. And bombs in this game are not very good. So first off, the hitbox of them is not what the game shows. A block can be on the outside a ring of a bomb explosion, and it just won't blow up, which is really stupid. And also, the bombs have such a long explosion timer that you can't do infinite bomb jumps. So there is no sequence breaking in this game. And that's also contributed to the fact that the event system exists. which means that once you can get like power-ups early. I believe there's a task of Biospark, another old runner of this game who's extremely good and also did quite a few tasks and just things for the game in general. Basically, he was able to task getting to both Notori and Yakuza early, which are two bosses that we'll fight later. About an hour, no, about 45 minutes from now. And you can actually kill them and get their power-ups early, but it'll just give you the same power-up that you were supposed to get from the current boss. So if you were going to Sector 4, which is the next area to get the speed booster, you would actually just get the speed booster rather than the power-up that Yakuza and Notori are supposed to give you. Which basically eliminates all possibilities for sequence breaking. So Scotty is gonna go for a bomb animation skip, I guess. If he lays a bomb down before then and goes down and grabs before the block, and then goes down and grabs the missile, and then gets back up through the block before it actually respawns, it'll save him a couple of seconds because you won't have to lay a bomb and then wait for it to explode. So coming up, we have another pretty heavy RNG boss. It's called Zazubi. And you can get anywhere from 3 jumps or 12 jumps. And each jump wastes a couple of seconds. So it could be, 20 seconds that a runner is losing compared to someone who gets, if they get 12 jumps compared to someone who gets 3. And a 3-jump Zazubi is, I think, a 1 in 64 chance. So, it's pretty rare. Scotty already having 2 empty jumps, which is not good. So the first phase can do anywhere from 0 to 3 jumps before becoming vulnerable. Second phase can do 1 to 4, and then the third phase can do 2 to 5. I'm not exactly sure what Scotty had, but it looked like maybe like a 7 or 8 jump, which isn't horrible, but it's not super good. Xoneris is a bit low on health here, but he should be fine. But now, Xoneris soon, and Scotty now has the high jump and spring ball, both of which are extremely useful in this game. And coming up, we'll see if Scotty actually goes for a very tough trick. Saves, I think, 12 seconds. Oh, fake out. Basically, what you can do is if you position it just right, you can skip past the SAX there by getting shot by an ice beam shot, and then getting hit out of it by a super missile. And then you can just run right past it, and it just won't shoot again. And that'll save you about 12 seconds or so. But if you do it wrong, then you either will live with 1 health or you will die. And it's taken quite a bit of runners so far this tournament. And some people that shouldn't have won races have won because of that. So, it's a very scary trick. Now Scotty's heading back to the computer. Speaking to it one more time for right now. And then we'll be heading out to Sector 4. Because why not? I don't know why the game sent us to Sector 4 rather than 3, but I don't know. And in Sector 4, you have a pretty heavy movement section, leading into one of the main reasons why the charge beam is broken. Xoneris is also doing a fake out for SAX skip. But throughout this whole sector, there's water that's actually electrified. And it'll do 3 damage every like half a second, maybe every third of a second or so. So if you're in it for a while, it could pound on some serious damage really quickly, especially if you're getting hit by enemies from in the water. But we only take a couple of dips in, so it won't hurt us too much. Xoneris about to head out of Sector 2 and also head out to Sector 4. At this point, I would say that Scotty maybe has a 1.5 to a 2-minute lead, so I think he's starting to run away with this one, but anything can happen. So we have to take this quite large detour just for one E-tank. There's nothing else on this path besides this E-tank, so it's kind of unfortunate. But you get to see a little bit of the sector that you wouldn't have before. So now hopefully Scotty gets good RNG in this next room, and he doesn't. So, but he did have quite a good recovery for that. So in that room, there's patterns that those ouches can follow, and sometimes there'll just be an ouch in a place that will hit you no matter what, and it makes it really annoying to get out of there. Oh, Scotty missing that wall jump, but having a clean recovery. This room is really cool to do fast. Yeah. So Xoneris is just now entering Sector 4, while Scotty is just about to go fight the boss. So this is Xoneris, except he's not here. It's just a skeleton. So now we have to go figure out where he went. And considering there's this giant pulsing eye door right here, and there's always been a boss after it, I sure do wonder where we could find Xoneris. Oh wow, it looks like he's right here. So in this fight, if you can position it correctly, you can kill Xoneris in 2 shots, which Scotty just did. And that saves a lot of time. Normally you would kill him in, I think, like 5 or 6 shots, which is not good. But we can kill him with 2 shots using the charge beam shots to its full potential. And so now we have speed booster, which, as the name implies, makes you speed. That'll be useful a lot. As we can see right here, we can do shine sparks, which basically just means we can fly in a choice of 5 directions at a pretty high speed and can break a lot of things and kill any enemy in our path pretty much. And so that'll be used a lot throughout the run. And so now we'll just be heading back to the main part of Sector 4 so that we can lower the water levels so that we can escape. In the meantime, we can also see what kind of series Xoneris gets. Now that the water level is lowered, we have access to a few different areas of Sector 4. See if Scotty gets low height. And he does not. It was really close though. So low height shine sparks. Well, what you do is, since if you're standing on the ground, you start out at a designated height. But actually, if you break out of your spin in Shine Spark right before you hit the ground, you will actually start out lower, which can be useful in a few areas. It can be useful right there. Xoneris is also getting a few shots here, by the way. But that can be useful there, and at the very end of the run, and then in a couple of other places. So that low height that Scotty almost got, saves like only like 1 or 2 seconds in 100%, because you do have to go back for an item. But in any percent, you don't have to go back for that item. And so you could just go right on past and it'll save you, I think, maybe 6 or 7 seconds compared to having to run back and start up another speed boost. And so now we'll actually head to Sector 3 after 4, which makes no sense. But let's just go with it. And here we have to kind of figure out where we can get super missiles. And again, it's hidden behind a security door. So we're going to have to figure out where that is. Although, again, it's not hard at all. But actually in this sector is probably the highest chance, after 2, that you're gonna die in. Maybe 6, but we'll see that in a little bit. This sector has some enemies that'll spawn in after opening up the security door that will deal a lot of damage. And in any percent, especially after the boss fight in here, you could take a lot of damage and you could very easily die. But in 100%, we have 5 E-tanks at this point, so it's rare to see someone die, but it can happen if you get low health. So right there, there was a frame perfect Shine Spark store that you could do. Whenever you land from a platform with a speed boost, you can store a Shine Spark. It's frame perfect, and it's useful in very few places actually. In any percent, you can use it in Sector 3 a couple of times. And in in 100%, it only saves a second tops. So it's really not worth it to go for. Especially because if you do go for it, there is a small chance that you could stop moving, which will make it so you have to take a different route to that first room. And that'll lose a lot of time. And so here we can charge a Shine Spark. Unfortunately, Scotty misses it. But if you time it just right, you can Shine Spark. You can charge a Shine Spark and break the blocks, the speed booster blocks, without falling down, which will allow you to Shine Spark up that long shaft rather than having to climb. And right there is the only missile tank that wasn't able to be skipped before we found... Well, it was able to be skipped, but it had a extremely difficult trick. But now it's a lot easier with that version exclusive English trick that go out of bounds and skip around it. And so Scotty now has super missiles, and let's see if he gets Data Spark. He does. Data Spark is pretty tight. You have to let go of your speed boost, and you just go neutral for a bit of time on the actual data pad, so that you can gain the ability and also charge it on like one of the last possible frames. And what that'll allow you to do is get a speed boost out of there, which saves a couple of seconds. It's not that big of a deal, but it's a little bit of time. And so coming up, we have the next boss, which is called Box. This fight is kind of hard, if you don't know what you're doing. Scotty having a pretty clean fight. It wasn't perfect, but it was good. That fight, you can do many different ways. That was, I believe, the fastest way that you can do that fight realistically. That Scotty just demonstrated, with a little bit of mistakes, but it wasn't that big of a deal. Xoneris will have to wait. Oh, he didn't. Okay, he didn't shoot out the top block there. He also fell back down. But if he would have broken that top block and didn't fall down, he would have had to wait for those blocks to respawn, which would have lost him a bit of time. But now that level 2 security locks are open, we are able to go to sectors 6 and 5. And again, we'll go out of order. We'll go to 6 before we actually do go to 5. And that's because 5 is very cold. So we can't go in there because Metroids are weak to cold. And Samus in the what's the word I'm looking for? In the prologue of the game that we skip over, she's actually infused with some Metroid DNA to save herself from an X infection. And so she is weak to the cold, because Metroids are weak to the cold. So we can't go to Sector 5 yet, or else we'll die really quickly. So instead we have to go to Sector 6 and find the Various suit. Which is disgusting, to say the least. I don't think a single person likes the design of the Various suit in this game. It is a puke yellow with some purple on it. It's just nasty. See if Xoneris can get Data Spark. Does not look like he got it. So now in Sector 6, there is these blue X's that will deal, I think, 70 or 80 damage. And so in any percent, they're pretty scary, but in 100%, we have 5 E-tanks, and we'll be picking up a 6th one on the way here. And so right there is, we put down a bomb along that left wall to expose a missile pack later, which we'll pick up on the way out of here. And since bombs still go off when they're off screen, it'll save you a second or so, not having to wait. Xoneris having a clean fight for the strat that he did. It was a little bit slower. See if Scotty goes for his crazy Sector 6 SAX skip. This one is this sack skip is significantly easier. Pretty much everyone does it, because there's almost no risk of dying unless you do it way too early. So we just have to wait for the SAX to just slowly walk across the room and then lay a power bomb to expose us. And Scotty does go for it, and he gets it. So that saves, I think, like 2 or 3 seconds over the normal strat. But it also looks really cool, so why not? And Scotty getting a not very good pattern in this room. There's enemy patterns in this room that can be very good or bad. So it's really annoying. That's one of the worst rooms in the game, honestly. And so the data room is in the next room, which means we're about to get Varia. But then there's this guy. This Corex stole the data, downloaded the Varia suit, and then now we have to come into the next room and fight the Corex with the Varia suit. And so this fight you can actually do in 4 charge beam shots, which saves quite a bit of time. Because I think normally it's like 8 or something that it takes to kill it. So now that we have super missiles, doubles are a little bit harder. They're still not too difficult, but the window is slightly smaller. Because as I said, the missiles fly faster and the cooldown in between firing Whew. So now we have protection against both the heat and the cold. And Scotty is going for that bomb jump, which saves a very small amount of time and is really difficult. But for whatever reason, he's extremely consistent at it. Kind of with just a lot of things that Scotty does. He's just consistent at really hard things that pretty much no one else is. Ooh. That was a clutch wall jump. If he actually would have missed that wall jump, he would have lost all of the time that he would have saved from doing that really tough bomb jump. So he would have had to fall down, and the normal strat to getting that missile without doing the bomb jump is to fall down from that crumble block. And so he would have just lost all the time. And in this room, he actually gets an okay pattern. At the end, it was a little bit sloppy, but yeah. That room can be extremely nice or extremely trolly. And so now we'll be laying a power bomb on that side. Or not a power bomb, just a normal bomb on that side. And we'll be coming back quite a bit later in the game to pick that one up. And that'll be an energy tank. I think that's our 12th or 13th one. Scotty getting that Shine Spark storage. I don't even know if that saves time, but it looks cool. And so, actually with Shine Sparks in this game, if you Shine Spark onto a slope, you still have a speed boost. So you can use that to chain many Shine Sparks together, which is useful in a couple of rooms during cleanup. And cleanup is 20 minutes of basically straight movement at the very end of the run. So we still got probably 40 minutes until that starts. About. So now that we have Varia and we're out of Sector 6, we're gonna head off to Sector 5. As we can actually handle the cold now. And Sector 5 is where probably the hardest, I would personally say, the hardest sections of the game that aren't in cleanup. For me, Sector 5 movement is just ridiculously tough. Xoneris is about to get Varia himself, about to fight the Mega Corax. We'll see if he can get it in 4 shots, just like Scotty. And he does. And so, we have the exact same situation as we had in Sector 2 and Sector 3, where there's a security lock blocking the way to getting the data room. So we are unable to grab ice missiles, which is our next upgrade, for unlocking security 3 levels. And again, just as before, they're again not hard to find. It just takes a little bit of time. So, funnily enough, you can actually shoot those enemies through the wall if they're connected to it, which is pretty awesome. So Scotty's about to unlock security level 3 doors. And then we'll just head back up, grab ice missiles, and then be on our way. And after this, well, first off, there is a thing called pulling a secret key. Secret key was a very old school runner Fortunately, he doesn't play much anymore, or at all. And he used to, in a race, I believe it was in a race, he actually forgot to pick up the ice missiles after grabbing security level 3 doors. And so it lost him a lot of time, and that just became known as pulling a secret key. So Scotty does not pull a secret key by forgetting ice missiles. And so after this section of Sector 5, we have the best part of the game. Almost everyone in chat should know what that is. So I would get prepared for what's about to happen after Scotty goes through the next couple of rooms. So Xoneris is now done with Sector 6, heading off to Sector 5. As Scotty will be leaving Sector 5. Emergency in Franker Z. So basically, there's this meltdown in Sector 3, but this person comes on the loudspeaker and just says emergency in Sector C, but it sounds like she's saying emergency in Franker Z. And so throughout the entirety of this meltdown, I want to see emergency in Franker Z in the chat. And so now we have to head off to Sector 3 to solve the issue. And this is one of the most heavy movement parts of the run. You can lose a lot of time just having poor movement in this section. Also, yeah, I want to explain something. Fusion randomizer will never happen. Just to answer that question, there is no possible way, as of yet, to remove the event system. And we've been trying for a long time, and nobody has figured out how to do it. So, until we remove that, there is no way to do a randomizer. Bar, look at Frank here, see bar. Scotty messing up that last room of Meltdown a little bit. You are able to freeze that side hopper and use them as a platform as soon as you run in, but missed it. This I-core is pretty difficult to hit doubles on, I would say, and Scotty getting the double-double. Now we have wide beam, which is even more broken than charge beam. I think it not only does it shoot 3 shots now, it also makes your beam wider, and those 3 shots together do 45 damage without the flare. I believe. So it's really powerful. And actually, the next beam upgrade will be getting, and the one after that, actually do technically downgrade the damage. And so now after the meltdown has been solved, we're going to be heading back to the main deck, actually. Power has been restored to the elevator, and we'll be able to do something that I'm not very proud of. We're going to have to save the animals. It's alright though, at least we have some cool movement on the way. Just like that shaft that Scotty just climbed up. And so, Xoneris is about to enter emergency in Franker Z. Scotty almost going into that next room. And so the reason why the meltdown started, the X were actually able to imitate and mimic a employee. So they're able to hack into the computer system and start a meltdown. Also, I forgot to mention, but a good time on Emergency in Franker Z is a 420-ish. A really good time is anything that's above a 430. But most runners will get anywhere from like a 415 to a 425. And I didn't catch what Scotty's time was, but we'll be able to see what Xoneris is. See if Scotty can get this strat. And he does. That strat is actually, in my opinion, easier than the other one that most people do, which is a wall jump. I think I was practicing that earlier today and I was getting that much more consistent. Also, there is a specific setup to actually get a Shine Spark charge and break that block, which will allow you to Shine Spark up that shaft. But Scotty got the setup and got the charge, but he actually Shine Sparked before even making it to where he did, or needed to. So that was a bit of a fail. He had to climb up the shaft normally. And so animals are RNG, depending on how fast they come out. I didn't catch how good Scotty's animals were, but I don't think they were horrible. Also looks like Xoneris is gonna get a 414 emergency, which isn't horrible. Could definitely be better, but not a huge time loss. And so now that Scotty has saved the animals, now we do have to head back down into the sectors, back down into Sector 5 to get ourselves some power bombs. And right before we head back down on the sectors, there is a little passageway that the SAX revealed when it first appeared early on, which actually has a missile in it. So we'll be grabbing that. That was kind of cool. Yeah. In nav rooms there. Scotty getting that shine spark. It's actually a lot tighter than it looks. We'll be seeing a variation of that shine spark that saves a lot more time and is actually a bit easier later on. And so this time, since we don't have to unlock the security levels, we just go right into the data room. And so we can pick up our power bombs. So our final item totals will be 20 energy tanks, 250 missiles, and 74 power bombs. I don't think in the 80% run they grab a single power bomb expansion, so they kind of overkilled it. Also, Scotty getting that wall jump, which is again harder than it looks. The normal kind of strat, which loses a little bit of time, is you have to just stay on the ladder and wait for the enemies to get close enough so you can freeze it and use it as a platform to jump across. And so here we have another SAX chase sequence, but this time we just won't even see the SAX. And that's it. All we saw was just one beam. You can place a power bomb there, high, to get through to that ladder, which saves a lot of time. Scotty getting kind of a weird pattern, and almost actually fell, but ended up saving it. Also, I'm not sure what Xoneris did, but it does look like he did not get a shine spark in that room. See Xoneris' animals. It wasn't horrible, not the greatest though. Also, using power bombs, we can activate a ladder in that room, which makes climbing that room a little bit faster. And you saw Scotty stop there for a split second, and that's so he can restart his speed boost, which allows him to get through the door and the gate without bonking on it. So he can just run right through the power bomb enemy, which saves quite a lot of time, so you don't have to wait for the power bomb to go off. And Scotty not messing up that room, which is something that I can't do. That room for me is ridiculously difficult, and I don't know why. Fortunately, missing the speed boost on the way out. If you get a speed boost and jump through the door on the way out, you can break that first block and just have the bomb one. And now with power bombs, we have quite a large shortcut through this giant room at the beginning of Sector 5. And we can just run right out through a path at the bottom. And so, as Scotty is leaving Sector 5 after having power bombs grabbed, Xoneris will be heading to Sector 5 to pick up the power bombs. So it looks like Scotty's got a very decent lead. Save 4 minutes or so. And from here on out, there isn't really too much left. It's mostly just about 20 minutes or so of story, maybe 25, and then it's just cleanup. So now we're told to head back to the ship, but the elevator actually breaks down on the way back up to the main deck. And here we see Ridley. Bye, Ridley. So sometimes that chain of bomb blocks just won't work. And I don't know if anybody knows why, but sometimes you'll just lay down a power bomb and not all the bomb blocks will explode. So sometimes you have to jump up and bomb them individually. And actually what Scotty just did gives me a good chance to explain why you can't grab ledges while power bomb's going off. So for whatever reason, they felt like it was a good idea to make it so that while the screen is shaking from a power bomb explosion, you just can't grab ledges. And it's kind of stupid, but it makes sense, I suppose. But it's just a little bit annoying. And so now we'll be heading back to the little passage that Scotty actually blew up with a power bomb beforehand. And we'll be heading off to fight the next boss, which I guess sparks the beginning of the boss gauntlet. So the boss gauntlet is something that's pretty annoying in any percent, but pretty easy in 100%. We have a series of 3 bosses that will be fighting in about 10 minutes of each other. And we'll be picking up a lot of key Metroid upgrades from those 3 bosses. And so coming up we have Yakuza, which is the spider boss with 6 legs. Don't ask. This boss will give us Space Jump, which is really awkward in this game, to say the least. In games like Super Metroid, stuff like that, it's pretty easy to tell the timing, but in Fusion, it's a little bit weird. But once you get used to it, it's pretty good. Also, Scotty getting a 4-round Yakuza, which is really bad. So Yakuza can crawl around the room 1 to 4 times, which can either save a lot of time or lose a lot of time. And you can also actually shoot missiles up by controlling the screen. Hold on, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, so you can shoot missiles by scrolling up the screen and actually hit Yakuza before you're supposed to. And that can save a cycle, which is really nice. Scotty having a not very good second phase there. That second phase is pretty difficult, I would say, to get good at. And Scotty is, I think, one of the only people to go for, or maybe the only person to go for doubles, actually. And you can actually go for doubles on the Yakuza second phase. And it's exactly how you would do it on a normal Core X, where you can just shoot 2 missiles up and have them hit on the same frame. Also, according to Hercules Ventress in the chat, who, by the way, is another very good runner of this game, also is in the tournament. Space jumps in this game are dependent on downward velocity, and something compared to SM, where it actually requires a certain amount of frames to jump again using space jump. I think it's 60. I'm pretty sure it's a full second, so 60 frames to jump normally, and then it's 4 frames to space jump in water in SM. But in this game, again, it's based on downwards velocity rather than a time value. There we saw Scotty laying a powerbomb which we'll be using later in cleanup at the very end of it. So, Scotty is about to head into the second boss of the boss gauntlet, Notori, which is easily... It's just really easy in 100%. Normally in 90%, you have, I think, 40 missiles at this point. So you would have to use charge shots and power bombs and stuff to kill it. But in 100%, we have like 125 missiles at this point, so we just spam missiles, and it'll just die. And also, the flowers at the top of the screen there will shoot out little pellets at you, but if you stand on the very far right or the very far left of the room, you can actually make the left flower just not fire at you, or the right flower. So it makes the fight really easy, because you can just stand still and just continue firing. And so now we have Plasma Beam, which isn't as broken as it is in a game like SM. The Wide Beam did 45 damage without the flare. The Plasma Beam does 27 damage without the flare per frame. So for bosses and enemies that have 1 pixel hitboxes, it'll actually do less damage than the Wide Beam. But for enemies or bosses that have bigger hitboxes, it'll deal a lot of damage really quickly. Also, Scotty with that Shine Spark, I believe is frame perfect to set up. And you can get a bonk cancel, which saves a bit of time. So Xoneris is about to head into Yakuza. Let's see how many rounds he gets. And so now Scotty will be heading into the third part of the boss gauntlet, which is a bit longer. But we'll be getting another very important Metroid upgrade, which is Gravity Suit. Also, hopefully we see Scotty go for Nightmare Space Boost. Also, I think Xoneris had a 4-round Yakuza as well. So double 4 rounds. But Nightmare Space Boost is a trick that pretty much only Palsmar goes for. And I don't know how, but he's like really consistent with it. And in 3 of his 4 races, he's gotten it first try. I believe in his 4th race versus Eagle was the only one that he's actually missed it in. Also, okay, it looks like Scotty is going for Nightmare Space Boost. We'll see if he can pull it off. It's much harder than the Shine Spark, but looks like Scotty might actually get it. Okay, so he got most of it. With the Nightmare Shine Spark, you can get through 5 rooms, which is pretty easy. After you get the actual Shine Spark, you don't have to do a single input afterwards. But with Nightmare Space Boost, you can use space jumps with your speed boost rather than Shine Sparking, which will allow you... Oh, what is Scotty doing? Looks like his controller kind of freaked out on him there. Lost him a couple of seconds. But anyways, Scotty actually got through 5 rooms. The same amount with Nightmare Space Boost, but you can actually get through 6 if you do it perfectly. And just in general, doing the Space Boost is faster, but it's also really hard. You have to have upwards momentum going through each door, which sounds easy, but it's a lot harder than it sounds. I think I'm pretty sure I've spent like 20 minutes trying to get it once, and I don't even think I made it through the first room. It's just really awkward. And so hopefully he doesn't miss this. Okay, he got it. So that E-Tank has a bit of a longer route to go through, but he just showed off with that power bomb. I think doing that ledge grab strat saves like 5 seconds. It's not too bad, but if you miss it, then you're gonna lose a lot of time. And so this boss is a real nightmare. It's pretty scary. Nobody knows what this guy is supposed to be. He's just kind of there. Also, Xoneris is on Notori. We'll go ahead and see if he can get any doubles. I think Scotty only got 1 on this fight. I'm not sure if he's going for doubles. It does not look like it. Also, Scotty had a pretty clean nightmare fight. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't horrible. Also, Xoneris is actually missing a cycle on the Plasma Beam core, which loses a lot of time. I think Scotty got a triple-double on the Nightmare core, which is really nice. Doubles with ice missiles, they aren't super difficult still, but they can be challenging compared to anything else. And now that we have Gravity Suit, makes it so that water does nothing to us, and that lava also does nothing to us, which we'll see later during cleanup. So we'll take no damage from lava, and also just be able to move freely throughout water and lava and any liquid. So that's really helpful. So Scotty is going through probably the worst room in the game. It's just really, really difficult to go through without taking many hits. Looks like he had a pretty clean room though. I think he only took maybe 2 hits, which is not bad. And now, we don't have any authorization from the computer, but we're gonna unlock security level 4 anyways, just because we're here, and why not? Meanwhile, Xoneris is going to head to Sector 5 to fight Nightmare. But in case you couldn't tell, this whole underwater section that Scotty's going through right now is in Sector 4. And so, we never actually go back to Sector 4, besides a roughly 15-second kind of vacation there, you could say, during cleanup. We'll actually be finishing off Sector 4 after this area. And after we pick up that extra upgrade, we have 2 power-ups to grab. And then we'll be done with Sector 4. The only reason why we come back here is to get through it so we can get from Sector 6 to Sector 2. Also, Xoneris is opting to go for Nightmare Shine Spark, which is much easier. It doesn't save as much time as Space Boost, but still saves a lot of time. And so for Scotty, coming up we have, for me, one of the hardest tricks in the run. Something I struggle with all the time. Right here, we'll be doing a Shine Spark storage on a slope. Let's see if he gets it. He got the first one. Then he grabs the missile. And then he gets the second charge. So I do an easier strat there, but I still mess it up much more than any other runner should. Now that saves time because you won't have to run down in that long corridor and get up a speed boost down there. And so now Scotty is going to get the final missile upgrade, which is probably my favorite, although it's not used to its full potential. So we get diffusion missiles, which is basically a charge shot for your missile. So you hold R, which is the missile select button, and then you can just fire a missile, and once it lands on something, it will explode into this area of effect ice attack, which is really cool. But it's only mandatory in, I think, literally one location, which Scotty already passed. Also, in that last room, with the mandatory diffusion missile location, is actually possible. That's the only place where Japanese and English actually differ in-game, not in text. One of the enemies in that room is actually able to be hit with a curved missile shot, which you just get by running while firing a missile. And you can hit the enemy, freeze it, and then crawl through. And that's probably the easiest method to get secret message. And it's not intended, but it's only possible in English. And in Japanese, that enemy is actually moved slightly farther to the left. Which means you have to wait for the diffusion effect to reach that enemy. And in English, you can just fire the missiles as soon as you get through and then just go. But you have to wait about a half a second on Japanese, so you can get through without having the enemy pop up and then get frozen that way. And so now we are done with Sector 4. We have every pickup there, and we're only going to go back there once for about 20 seconds, if that. But now we have to head back to Sector 6, as we have something going on. But, yeah, we can find the security robot that we fought in Sector 3, locked by the X, so now we get to fight Xbox. And that'll give us our final beam upgrade. The wave beam. And wave beam is literally the exact same thing as plasma beam, except it can go through walls, and the hitbox is slightly larger. It adds no extra damage. And so Scotty is now using that bomb that we laid on the way out of Sector 6 the first time. And about 40 minutes later, maybe 30, we're going to grab that E-tank, finally. No entry without authorization. Scotty unfortunately missing that Shine Spark. But that room that we just left actually does trigger this boss fight. You're not allowed in without authorization. Also Scotty going for this strat, and he got the first part, I think. Unfortunately he tanked that missile. Still a pretty clean fight. That strat is really difficult, and it only saves a second or two over the normal strat, I believe. Also, this Corax is the only Corax in the game where, for humans, it's impossible, or at least very, very close to impossible, to get a double. The Task barely gets it. So, the doubles are extremely tight. Yeah, now we have a wave beam, which allows us to just shoot through walls, and then, yeah, so it's really helpful, because before we weren't able to shoot through walls, but there's many upgrades that we actually need to shoot through walls to get, so, yeah. Also, here are some Metroids, and then now the SAX is trying to kill the Metroids. And then now we just have to get out. So Scotty got a pretty optimal time. I think the optimal time is like a 55.5 or something, maybe a 6x. And you got a 18. Also, I'm not sure what strat Xoneris just did, but it was not the strat that we saw from Scotty. But it worked for him, so that's good. So now we have the second longest text box in the game. And after this, we get to go to our favorite enemy. You know, just our best friend. Everyone make sure to max out your audio in a couple of minutes here. But before then, we are leaving the restricted sector and we actually head back up to Sector 1. A much different part of it, though. To answer Toretta's question in the chat, if you stay in the restricted sector for too long and the countdown ends, the part of the space station will go flying into the planet SR-388, and you just die. So in this room that Scotty's in, there's actually a small chance that you have to reload the room, or else you will not be able to progress, and Scotty doesn't actually get that, which is good. That X, to spawn in that big guy that he just shot with a missile, can just never spawn that dude. He'll just circle around it forever. And all those gold pirates are able to be killed with a charge shot if you just shoot and then turn away from them. You're intended to be facing their backs and then shoot them, but you're just able to turn around and just shoot them, which is quite a bit faster, but it's really annoying sometimes, because sometimes you'll just shoot a charge shot the same way that you're already turning. You do it too fast. Also, Scotty getting the bomb placement on the Ridley fight. Also, here's our favorite Metroid guy, Ridley. He just wants a hug, and he's very excited to see you. So, since wave and plasma beams do damage per frame, and Ridley's hitbox is actually a square, the diagonal of a square is longer than the sides. So, if you shoot through the diagonal, then you do more damage. And a casual, both player and runner may just spam missiles, but shooting those charge shots will kill Ridley much faster. Scotty gets one double. Diffusion missile doubles are very difficult. Ice missile doubles aren't that bad. And the steps up from each missile aren't that bad. But for whatever reason, with diffusion missiles, doubles just get extremely difficult. So now Scotty is in cleanup, which means it's basically just 20 minutes of straight movement. This is probably my favorite part of the run. There's no text, at all from that last Adam. Oh, by the way, the computer's Adam. But there's no text from the computer, from before Screw Attack to basically the end of the game now. And so now we'll be heading back through the 6 sectors and the main deck to pick up any items that we missed throughout the story portion of the run. And so the route we'll take is sectors 1, 3, and 5. And then we'll go to 6, then 4 for about 10 seconds, and then we'll go to 2. And then we go back to the main deck to finish off the run.
No entry without authorization. Warning, no entry without authorization.
Looks like Xoneris is having a bit of trouble against Box 2 or Xbox. This fight is, I would definitely say, much harder than the first Box fight. But that's up for, I guess, opinion between each runner.
Warning, no entry without authorization. Warning.
So now Xoneris will be heading off to the restricted sector. And then we'll go to Screw Attack, and then we'll have both runners in cleanup. I would say we maybe have a 6-minute gap at this point. Possible 7. I'm not really sure. So Xoneris is definitely not playing amazing, but he's not playing horrible. It's just that, unfortunately, he's kind of just outmatched by Scotty.
Fire alert. This sector will soon be locked down. 60 seconds to isolation lockdown.
Xoneris is having a bit of trouble getting out of there. Got out of the low 52, which isn't the greatest. But getting out of there fast is pretty tricky because those Metroids will knock you out of your spin. But thankfully, in this game, rather than Super Metroid, you will be able to actually hit A in the air if you're not spinning, and you can just start a spin anyways, which is extremely useful. Also, Scotty missing that space boost. You're able to space boost to grab that missile pack and then grab the next one after that. But unfortunately, if you don't hit A before grabbing that missile pack, you just won't be able to space jump again. And that room is, I believe, the only room in the game to have 3 power-ups. There may be another one that I just can't think of, but I'm not sure. And now Scotty is just about done with Sector 1 cleanup, so he'll move on to Sector 3, as Xoneris is heading into Sector 1 to grab Screw Attack. So Sector 3 cleanup is pretty difficult, I would say. It's definitely one of the harder sectors. It's not nearly as difficult as 2 or 6, but it's still pretty hard. Also, looks like Scotty having a bit of trouble, not only getting that space boost, but then getting out of that energy tank spot. But, sorry, he's out now. So, Xoneris also not getting that small soft lock. That soft lock is, like, pretty rare, but it can happen. Also, Scotty, utilizing one of the only times that bomb jumps are actually good. I believe that is one of 2 mid-air bomb jumps you can do to save time, and the other one in Sector 6, which we saw from Scotty earlier, only saves roughly maybe, I think it's 2 seconds, maybe 3. That one does only save 1 second or so, because the only reason why you're doing that is so that you can avoid grabbing the ledge. Seems like Scotty is having controller issues based on what happened earlier in the gravity suit segment, and also what he just said in the speed gaming chat. So hopefully those will let up. Xoneris gaining the double bomb on Ridley's eye. Never seen that before. Unfortunately, getting hugged from our good friend. Xoneris getting a double on the Ridley core. Again, diffusion missile doubles are much more difficult than any other missiles. So now we have both runners officially in cleanup. Scotty is about 2 sectors ahead at this point. He's nearing the end of Sector 3 cleanup, while Xoneris is just about to start Sector 1 cleanup. So Sector 1 and Sector 3 cleanups are not super difficult. 3 is definitely the harder of the two. Still not super hard compared to the thing. Sector 6 is going to be extremely difficult. Sector 6 is by far the hardest sector to clean up, with many space beasts, and even a frame-perfect power bomb that we'll have to grab. You have to do either a frame-perfect spring ball jump, or a frame-perfect normal jump, and then do a space jump afterwards. Or you can do out of bounds. On the English version, again, you can use the out of bounds glitch to actually grab that power bomb. But it's definitely slower. And it's also, I'm pretty sure, frame perfect. So there's almost no reason to go for it, unless for whatever reason you're just way better at timing it. So Sector 5 cleanup is the second shortest sector to clean up, besides Sector 4. I believe it's 5 items that you pick up here, and all of them are really close to where you need to go anyways. So I think my gold here is about is just under 1:20, and my gold is not optimal, so I believe the world record does it in about 1:10. Also, Scotty messing up that space boost. You're supposed to run and get a space boost through the wall to get that power bomb, and then run out and grab the missile, but fortunately he messed up and had to go redo the space boost. And so with that last missile in Sector 5, Scotty's now moving on to Sector 6, which is really hard. So we start off by doing a space boost, which we'll see in a minute here. Using that power bomb to clear out the enemies. That was a use of our shot right there. R shooting is where you have a space jump, and you are able to charge up a charge shot and shoot it by activating the missiles without having to break out of your spin. And so that can be used to open doors while you're space boosting, which we'll see in a little bit, also in Sector 6. Scotty unfortunately messing up that space boost, but the important thing is that he made it into this room, which is guarded by some speed booster blocks. What you're supposed to do with that strat is space boost through the entire room and then grab the power bomb on top. But the backup is just to line up the shine spark at the bottom of the room and just fly up into it. Also, Xoneris is bonking with the shine spark. He meant to open up the door beforehand, but unfortunately did not. So he'll lose a little bit of time having to go across the room normally. And so now we have to make sure that we don't shine spark up that room that Scotty just grabbed that power bomb in. If you shine spark up, then you are locked into the final text box of the game, and you would have to go all the way around back into Sector 6 from the main deck, which takes a very, very, very long time. So you just break through that with a space jump and a speed boost. And so coming up, we have our frame perfect power bomb. As I said, there are 3 ways to do this, and all of them are frame perfect. I believe Scotty uses the space jump, but I'm not sure. Yeah, looks like he goes for the unmorph and then the space jump method. Oh, okay, so he got the spring ball one first try and also first try on the way back. So, saved a bit of time, even though he got it 3rd try. So now we're gonna see another R shot, and if Scotty can pull this off right, well, let's see if he gets it. Oh, so close. What you can do there is you can actually space boost to that whole room and break through those speed booster blocks, which is very tight, but saves a lot of time. And unfortunately, Scotty actually messing up that puzzle. There's little parts in the floor that you're supposed to bomb to activate pillars that allow you to get a speed boost. But Scotty actually hit the wrong part of it, so a vertical pillar came up and made it so that he could not progress in the room. So nearing the end of Sector 6 cleanup, we'll see if he can get this. Oh, so if you have pretty much perfect movement through that second part of Sector 6, or that room in Sector 6, you can skip having to wait for, or having to screw attack that block, which saves just a bit of time. But Scotty got through the hardest part of cleanup, I would say, with only a bit of time loss. I think maybe 20 seconds overall, maybe 30, which isn't bad, because that sector is extremely difficult. And now we have the hardest sector to clean up, Sector 4. Alright, he got it. Whew. On to Sector 2. This is, I would say, the second hardest sector. Obviously, Sector 4 is extremely easy. You don't have to do anything, but Sector 2 cleanup is, I would say, again, the second difficult, behind Sector 6. And this room is why. It's called Crumble City, and Scotty is kindly showing us with some power bombs. The entire room is filled with crumble blocks. So you have to avoid the crumble blocks to grab the E-Tank and power bomb, which a lot of people struggle with, including myself. So now we have the final energy tank in the game for Scotty. And after we leave this sector, we'll actually have one more item to pick up in the rest of the game. And that'll be on the main deck, which we'll grab right before entering the final sequence of the game. And so if you're wondering why we didn't grab power-ups earlier, including this one, which we could have grabbed right after unlocking the security doors and getting bombs in Sector 2, about an hour and 20 minutes ago, we don't get that because we can just do it faster with items picked up later. And that's why we don't pick up a lot of these items that you see that we could easily pick up earlier. This just saves time to grab them with later upgrades. And so here we have a decently tight room. Scotty gets it with ease. You're able to start a spin and then jump twice to get to that room. It's not that hard, but there is an easier strat that you can just use by freezing 2 turtle enemies and then using them to get across using more fall. And so with this missile pack that Scotty's about to pick up, we have 1 missile pack left and then 2 power bombs to pick up. Looks like Xoneris is about to head into Sector 6 cleanup. While Scotty is about to finish up too. And so the final things to pick up, besides 1 more power bomb that we'll be picking up on main deck, will come on the opposite side of the Xoneris room. And this is probably known best as the demo Shine Spark room. Basically, the puzzle of this room is you're supposed to chain, I believe, 6 Shine Sparks in a row to climb up to the top to grab a power bomb. But we can just space jump up and then only use 5. Now, Scotty does actually get the Shine Spark charge on there, and actually does get the strat afterwards. So charging a Shine Spark on those combo blocks is a lot harder than it looks. And so what we're able to do is if you're able to fall down optimally, you can grab that missile pack without having to run across the bottom of the room and grab to grab that missile. And so with that, Scotty is finished up with cleanup for the most part. He'll just have to escape Sector 2, head back to the main deck, and grab his final expansion. And then he'll be on his way to beat the game. Meanwhile, Xoneris is pretty close, probably about halfway through Sector 6 cleanup, about to head off to the Frame Perfect Power Bomb in a minute or 2. And so the final power bomb tank and expansion of the run is right across from the animals, and actually right above the final text box. Scotty doing a quick pause there to check if he has all the items, and I'm not sure if I saw it, but considering he's not turning around, I'm assuming he got 100%. So now we will talk to the computer for one final time. This text box is very long, so if you have to go to the bathroom really quick or maybe grab a snack or a drink, now's the time to do it. Xoneris, meanwhile, is struggling a bit to grab that Frame Perfect Power Bomb, but I think he got it 4th try. And he also gets the Spring Ball strat on the way back, so kind of mixing the 2 together. So now, I suppose the computer reveals finally to Samus that he has the, I guess, I don't know how to explain it, I guess consciousness of Adam. So, yeah. And now Samus receives her final mission, which is to basically go set the space station on a self-destruct course. And then escape. And that'll hopefully eradicate all the X on the space station. But first, we are interrupted by a good friend, the SAX. Scotty going for a diagonal stun lock here. And does not get 4 shots, he gets 5. So optimally, you would get 4 shots if you do a diagonal stun lock, and that'll kill the SAX first form. But I guess he was a little bit off. That second phase is really easy. You just shoot a diagonal shot and then a vertical shot, and it dies. Now this is the hardest realistic core to double, and Scotty gets the triple double. Wow. That core is very difficult to double because it's not only is it an I core, but you have the fusion missiles and you have to downward double it while space jumping with no platform to kind of lock it under. So, very surprised to see you get a triple double there. It's very difficult. And so now we enter the final part of the run where we just have to escape from the ship within the 3-minute time limit, which isn't that hard. Scotty actually does get low height. So, as we said earlier in Sector 4, there's a couple locations where low height is useful, and that is the final place at the very end, where it saves a couple of seconds. Also, Xoneris is doing a kind of a weird setup for the turtle strat, but does get it. But now we get attacked by the Omega, but right before the ship comes to save us. And the SAX actually comes out of the core that we killed earlier to, I guess, try and help defeat the Omega Metroid. Now Scotty is going to do the upwards shooting stun lock, which is a lot harder than diagonal, but faster, and he actually gets it. So that'll be the end of the race for Scotty, and he will come out with the victory. And his final SRL time is a 1:44.56. So we should be seeing maybe a 107 or a 108 in game time. Not a bad run at all. So now we can just wait for Xoneris to finish up cleanup and finish the run. So Xoneris is done with Sector 2 cleanup, and he'll be heading off to the main deck to finish off the game. So Xoneris should be finishing up with maybe a 153. So about 10 minutes behind Scotty. But a 153 is still not a horrible time at all. And so with that, Xoneris should have 100%. And then he'll be heading off to set ship onto a self-destruct course and finish the game. So while this text box is happening, we'll be able to see Scotty's in-game time, as well as making sure he got 100%. So Scotty should be getting either a 107 or a 108 in game time. And he does get a 107. So, the world record for in-game time is a 104. Which Scotty actually tied earlier this week. Actually, I think it was a day or two ago. So, yeah. According to Scotty in the chat, he got a 107.42. You're actually able to check your in-game time seconds if you play on BizHawk, and you're able to check the frame count, I believe. And so now Xoneris is heading off to trigger the final sequence. Going for a horizontal stomach and unfortunately messing it up. So he has to drop down and try again. Just taking a bit to set up, but he does eventually get it. Having a bit of trouble on the second phase. See if he can get any doubles on the 4. And he doesn't get any.
Propulsion sequence activated. Destination planet.
So now he'll be heading off to fight the Omega and finish off the run. We'll be able to verify if he has 100% before he actually beats the Omega. So if we need to, we can cut away to SM before then, before his credits show. See if he can get low heights. I don't think he did. He did not. He was a couple of pixels away. It was very close. And so as soon as he picks up this blue X core is when we'll be able to see if he has 100% or not.
To destination.
And he does not! He missed a power bomb. I'm not sure where. So it looks like Xoneris will be finishing with a 153 and also having 99%. And finishing with a 155.24. Oh, no, 153.38 official SRL time. But unfortunately having 99%. And with that, that is the end of this fusion race. Scotty will move on to being 3-2, and Xoneris will drop to 2-3. Scotty will be able to participate in a play-in race now to get into the final single elimination bracket, which we will see after the round 5 races are all completed. So with that, guess we'll be heading out. I'm not sure why Xoneris is speeding up his emulator, but oh well. I guess just to get through. So this should be, I believe, like a 116? 114, okay, with 99%. So with that, we have our winner, Scotty, with a 144.55 RTA, over Xoneris with a 153.35. So thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoy some Super Metroid Randomizer. I'm not sure who's in the set, but yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone.